What's up, everybody? It's Aaron here, along with Ray, for another episode of the Franchise Tag Fantasy Football Podcast. We are going to be covering the AFC West breakdown in this week's episode. As always, please give us a like, a comment, a subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know anytime that we post a video. Ray's got a little bit of, I believe it's a mango cart going down his
This is
little guzzle right there.
This is a pineapple cart, sir.
Ooh, nice. But with that being said, man, how you doing?
Pretty good. Now that we know that our systems are all go, we're able to talk to each other. I'm able to be heard. That's really what it is. But, Aaron, I do have a very important question for you. One big one.
Big one.
Are you a beer, wine, or liquor kind of guy?
Just sipping on like at home. Right now, as you can see, I have a little glass of scotch here. But
fancy.
The older I get, the more off of beer I think I'm getting.
I can agree with that. I'm more of a wine guy myself, but Golden Road, not friends of the show, not sponsors, but I wish they would be.
If you're listening.
If only. Yeah, if you're listening. Hey. Let me show you my friends there, fellas. I've been there since the beginning. I'll dabble in some beers. I'm a big stout guy, big porter guy, but I just wanted to get your temperature on this. So,
like, if we're go ahead.
You're not high on wine then at all, because that's really where that's.
No, I like wine.
Oh yeah,
I do like wine. For me, it's a good old glass of scotch, a good nice bottle of scotch, and then I would go wine and then beer. But however, that being said, if we're going out to like a brewery or like a tap house or something to like hang out with friends and get like, appetizer foods and get a couple flights, I do enjoy trying the beer and stuff that they have. But if we're going to Green Bay for the Green Bay game or a sporting event or social hour, it is Miller Lite because number one, it's cheap, and number two, it's easy to drink. I don't like IPAs. IPAs deserve to be poured down the sink.
Ooh, that's rough. That's half the viewership right there. That went from 2 to 1.
Sorry, guys. I apologize to the one viewer, Jordan, if you're watching. I don't apologize to you. It's the other one.
Oh. Well, I don't really like IPAs either. I'm not a big hop guy. I like my stouts and I like my porters. That's what I'd like to wheelhouse.
I've been getting back into like red and brown ales. If I like go somewhere to like a restaurant that has them, I'll order one of those.
Yep. I'm 100% on board with that.
Yep.
Well.
But yeah, I think we got on that a little bit. Let us know your guys' favorite drink, whether it's hard liquor, and you just like to get trashed off the military,
or something to try.
Off the military special. Yeah, give us some suggestions of what you guys think of like vino, or even if you guys like scotch like I do, scotch, or like maybe some. I know it's a little hard with regional beers like Yingling's normally only east of the Mississippi and all that stuff, but if you guys have some like off the wall beers that you can get normally at like liquor stores or something, let us know. We like to try stuff.
Yeah, or if you're in California, you want me to try something, I'll put it on the show. I'll try it right in front of your face. Drink it on up.
Solid. Well, let's get into this AFC West breakdown. This is the last division in the AFC that we have to cover.
Thank God.
We had a little, as you guys know, a struggle last week. But so AFC West, you want to kick it off with the Raiders?
All right. So I'd like to preface the Raiders, the entire organization, and what you're going to do with yourself in the fantasy draft that you're going to be starting up here. I hope on the third week of preseason. Draft Aaron Waller. They didn't do anything to take away or supplant him from the number 1, number 2, number 3 option on that team. Draft Aaron Waller.
Agreed.
Outside of that, they didn't really make any other moves of note. I'll give you. I'll list off a few, and then I'll give you my temperature on them. John Brown, don't care. Willie Snead, don't care. Was it Kenyon Drake? Don't care. None of them. I don't give any.
I know first initial gut reactions. We had a few episodes that came out with the Kenyon Drake signing at the beginning of free agency.
Yeah.
I know I said stay away from Josh Jacobs and stay away from both of them. I'm slightly warming on Josh Jacobs if you can get him at the right value, because I don't think with you saying Kenyon Drake like that, I don't think Kenyon Drake's going to supplant him and take a bunch of work away from him. Josh Jacobs does have the ability to give big plays. I do think inside of the red zone, however, a couple touchdowns on the season get snagged away, but I don't think that he comes in and just completely wrecks Josh Jacobs like I thought he was going to.
Let me
We're
ask
talking
you.
about a top
let me
8
ask you.
running back last year for fantasy purposes.
If you, let's say you had a balanced roster going into your fantasy draft, would you be comfortable rolling into the season with Josh Jacobs as your running back too? Would you feel comfortable leaning on that option?
Comfortable? Like super comfortable, or just kind of like
Would you do it?
I would if I had to, if it's what it came down to.
It's not a great answer.
No. So he's more of a flex play to me. He's more of the third running back to me.
So he's a high flex.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that term a lot. I'm going to use that term a lot going forward. Your altitude on what flex you're going to be using. You know what I mean? So Josh Jacobs being a high flex, he's got a chance to be a running back too, for sure. I don't think that that's too far out of the realm of possibility. I do not think that he'll be a running back 1. I don't believe that. I'm wrong. I don't know.
He finished running back 8 for half point last year, right?
I understand that.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying. But they did use, what was it, Jalen Richard? Is that his name? The Richard or whatever. The second running back they had. I can't even think of his name. Let me look at their roster. I think he's still on the roster.
Yeah,
Jalen Richard. They used Jalen Richard a lot last year too, and he was hurt. And I think of Kenyon Drake coming in as, I think beginning of the season, they try to give it a 50-50 split, but then they realize that Kenyon Drake just isn't that good. And then he kind of falls out of the mix. So I think Josh Jacobs finishing as a running back 2 is more likely than him finishing, a higher probability than him not. Like 60-40.
Yeah, I can agree with
70-30.
And if he's a running back 2, then I'm actually more comfortable with him as my running back 2 than
you see what I'm saying, though? As of right now, I still want him to be a flex, but I would rather draft him as a flex and him be a running, if that makes sense, and be a running back 2. Everyone wants that to happen, but I would draft him as a running back 2 if need be, if that's the way the draft fell, but I still would be looking for plug and play starts a little later in the draft as well.
Look, I'm like a little muffin in the oven, just rising just so slightly on Josh Jacobs. Truly. Little muffin in the oven.
I think I've talked to you into a few people that you were off on.
I don't like it. Hey, draft Darren Waller, though.
But draft your Darren Wallers, but quit letting me talk you into people, because as you know, I don't have a clue about what's going on with football.
I didn't say that. So the next team I'd like to talk about, let's move right in, because really they had a lot of defensive the Raiders had a lot of defensive moves in this draft, which I do think will help the overall prediction for them, but they didn't do anything on offense that I really care about. So let's move on to the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
Now, reports out of camp aren't great on old Drew Lock. Not great.
No.
I would venture to say that they're very poor.
Yeah. With that, you hear this all the time on the Drew Lock thing. You hear it all the time of a team's just one piece away. A team's just a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender. The Broncos are literally that team they are speaking of. They are one quarterback away from going or having a shot at going to the Super Bowl. They have a good defense, a really good defense. They have really good offensive weapons. Their offensive line is not bad by any means. And like you said, Drew Lock is a bag of buns. And word on the streets, Deshaun Watson would love to go and wants to go to the Broncos.
I think he just wants to play football. So if I had to give you a quarterback that I think is feasible for them to get, that would fit into their. I understand they have Teddy B, but I don't really care about that. I would like them, if anybody, tell me if they wouldn't have Kirk Cousins on their roster, how much better would the Broncos be? They'd be a Super Bowl contender.
They still have to get through Kansas City. They still have to get through the Bills.
Yeah, but I think they're a contender.
I think that puts them as third or fourth best contender from the AFC to make it.
Let me pitch this to you. So their defense is better than either of the teams you just mentioned by a long shot.
But number one, you have Patrick Mahomes. Number two, you have Josh Allen.
True. But they made lateral moves with AJ Boye to Kyle Fuller. They will be getting Von Miller back. They drafted Patrick Surtain. That's right then and there. He's a day one game changing starter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you say, he is.
I agree with you.
So what I'd like to say is overall, and this is just taking all the pieces included, Denver has some of the highest talent, skill position-wise, on their offense that you could ask for. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, Javonte Williams behind a Melvin Gordon. If Melvin Gordon still got something in the tank, I think he does. But, man, if they could just figure it out, that Drew Lock ain't the guy.
I don't understand how you have John Elway, who cannot scout quarterback talent, bro. You did it for so long. How can you not figure it out? But anyways, I agree. You know who is a Broncos fan? Our great friend Greg.
Oh, great friend of the show, Greg.
Yeah, he's a Broncos fan, so we talk about it at work all the time. He's always like, if we could just get a quarterback. But yeah, so I would agree that I could see them being, even with someone like Kirk Cousins, who's perennially known as a not a good quarterback in prime time, and this, that, and the other. He made Minnesota.
I'm just throwing a name out there.
Team. Yeah, I would see. I'm not saying he's like a great quarterback by any means, Kirk Cousins, but he is definitely quite a few steps up above Drew Lock.
Or Darnold. Why didn't they go after Darnold? Why? Why? That would have been such a good move for Darnold to go over there. But we're going to get into the NFC South, and I really like Darnold on the Panthers. I really like that.
You know what's sad is Trubisky was in free agency and went to the Bills, but I think even Trubisky on the Broncos is a better move than Drew Lock.
Piss poor.
That's sad.
That's piss poor.
That's sad, but that's just what I'm saying.
Outside of that, I would like to really just maybe harp on Cortland Sutton's value. Go into that real fast.
Yeah, I think right now, if I recall, Jerry Jeudy's getting drafted above Cortland Sutton, and everyone's sleeping on Cortland Sutton because they don't remember, because it's a "what have you done for me lately" mentality in fantasy. Always has been, always will be. And with the ACL and him going out, he played like 16 snaps of the season. That's it.
Yeah.
I think
he had 50 yards.
Yeah. With that, happening, a lot of people are going to have a tendency to forget what Cortland Sutton was going to be. He's still going to be that person. He's still going to be good.
He's coming back from an ACL. That is something you have to monitor.
I like to think of Cortland Sutton coming back from his ACL as like an Allen Robinson coming back was on the Jags, tore his ACL, and ended up coming back to Chicago and being very viable for fantasy. He ended up as a top 12 fantasy wide receiver. I can see that for Cortland Sutton. Maybe not top 12, but definitely in the realm of high wide receiver 2.
If I had to put my
just because quarterback play.
Yeah, and the reason why I'd like to really harp on Cortland Sutton is because I think that out of Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, Jerry Judy's the more boom bust kind of receiver. Cortland Sutton's going to be the target hog in that offense. And I truly think that at the end of the season, he will be a probably middle tier receiver too. I think that's the ceiling for what their offense is. And Cortland Sutton is at that is his ceiling, is the a middle tier receiver too. And if you could have him as your flex, or you're going to get him later, I mean, 8th round probably? I bet that's where he falls. Yeah. I bet.
I can look at his ADP real quick.
It feels like that's where it's going to be, because I bet Jerry Jeudy's is like in the 5th. I haven't looked at it yet, just because I would like to give you my own personal take on how I feel about different receivers. I don't see, if Cortland Sutton plays 17 games, a way that he isn't a solid receiver too. having that as your flex, or even if you had to run him out there as receiver 2 with some injuries, that's not bad. I don't think that's bad at all. Even with Drew Lock and Teddy B, even with whoever it is, I don't care who it is. You know what I mean?
I 100% agree. Cortland Sutton, current ADP is the 703.
Pretty close. Pretty close.
Let me look at, you said Jerry Judy?
So I would like to just preface the fact that I did say that I am high on Jerry Judy as well, and I think that he does
Jerry
have an
Judy's
opportunity.
current ADP is 805.
Really? I was way off on that.
This is PPR 12 teams.
Wow.
This is per fantasy football calculator as well.
Okay. Well, that kind of sheds some more light on the situation, I guess. But I like I said, I don't think that you're wrong on drafting either one of them. Just make sure that your roster is set up in your draft to be able to handle having either one of them as a bench player going forward. Does that make sense? Am I making that make sense?
Yep.
I feel like maybe I'm not like maybe giving the best examples here. I'm high on Cortland Sutton. There it is. I'm just gonna say it. I'm high on Cortland Sutton.
I would agree. As you said, if they get a quarterback upgrade, like legitimately, I even think Teddy B is a quarterback upgrade. He last year with Robbie Anderson. Thank you, Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. He supported 2,000-yard receivers. You know what I mean?
I mean,
so
he did.
And
that's without Christian McCaffrey too.
That's what I'm saying. So
yeah,
I do think that Teddy Bridgewater does give both of those guys a bump. And I'm statting it as Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the starter.
I can't imagine him not.
So that's why I said when high-end wide receiver 2, that's what I'm kind of thinking of. But Javonte Williams, if Melvin Gordon gets hurt or is out for an extended period of time or ends up for some reason getting another DUI and gets suspended a couple games or whatever, the problems with Melvin Gordon happens, right? It's happened before. He will not give that job back to Melvin Gordon if they give him the opportunity to take it.
Yeah, that was a surprising pick for me, them going after Javonte Williams. But then you see that Melvin Gordon's aging and poorly. He has a tendency to be inefficient.
Yep.
And you want a guy, a multifaceted running back, and Javonte Williams gives you that. He's good. He's good after the catch, with the reception.
That's what I was planting my flag on in the draft.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. You know what? Every time I think about how the draft kind of broke down, it makes me upset. I think it's more just Rashad Bateman going to the Ravens just really
just ruined you.
Woo!
I'd
have a 30-minute editing session just to say how mad I was about that. But yeah, I would say in dynasties, definitely take a look at Javonte Williams. But he might be worth the first round pick just to have him on your roster.
He's not worth. I don't think he's worth the 101.
In your rookie draft.
Yeah, rookie drafts. He's not. If you haven't done them yet, which most people have already done them.
Yeah, you have, yeah.
Going to the Broncos, he's probably not worth the 101, but he's definitely worth anywhere between, depending on what your roster construction needs, the 103 to the 106. I know that's a big spread, right? But normally you're going to have your Najee Harris going to Pittsburgh or your Travis Etienne going to the Jags, right? You're going to have one of those two probably going 101, 102. Then you're going to look at your Kyle Pitts now that Julio's gone. Then you're going to look at your Jamar Chases. And then right there at the 105 is probably where you're starting to look at Javonte Williams if you don't need a running back. However, if you need a running back, look at him at the 103 in rookie drafts.
In redraft, I'm probably not interested this season. In keeper,
later in both redraft and keeper.
Yeah, in keeper, I'm much more interested than I am in redraft. I'm not interested in redraft. I'm not.
That.
Because you can probably pick him up on the waivers maybe 2 weeks into the season, 3 weeks into the season, when you've kind of assessed how everything's kind of shaken out. Because we still don't really know who or how or what that Broncos offense is going to look like. A little further on in the season, you're going to be able to tell that.
Yeah, and you brought up waivers. With waiver wires and however you do it, we use the Fab or the free agency acquisition budget. We use that, but try to be a week ahead on players. Look at your roster, look at your team. If you have some dude that's chilling at wide receiver that you're never gonna play, but you have him on your roster just in case the dude above him goes out. Look at saying, all right, well, Javonte Williams had 8 carries this week, 12 carries this week. Didn't do much with it. I know that's kind of exaggerated, but we'll say 4 carries this week, 6 carries this week, 8 carries this week. He's trending in the right direction. Be a week too early. It's better to be a week too early and have that person on your bench, and then he breaks out the week that he's on your bench, rather than trying to pick him up and spend that money or that waiver priority pick after he's already broken out.
Also switch to a fab. Quit using waiver priorities.
Also, I want to talk to you guys. About fab. I heard this was a great idea. I want to do in-season budget. Then as soon as the season's over, do an out-of-season budget. But Yahoo closes the league after a certain amount of time, so we can't. We'll talk about that later. Get sidetracked.
Yeah, that's gonna be another episode. That's a whole.
We'll go over fantasy.
Go over a whole different thing. Yeah.
Right, so you go with the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm done with
the Chargers. They drafted an offensive tackle, which was good considering they signed the best center in all of football, Corey Linsley. Statistically graded out as the best center last year in all of football. They signed him in free agency. They signed another offensive guard, so they're doing stuff to shore up their offensive line for Justin Herbert. I do like those moves. What are they doing? Their defense is great. They exercised the 5th-year option on Derwin James. I don't know if people still realize this, but he was still under a rookie contract. I know he's been hurt the last 2 years off some freak accidents, but when he was on the field, when he played, he is amazing. He is a stud. They did lose Melvin Ingram to free agency. He decided he wanted to go to free agent, but he is getting older, so of course they're not going to give him the money that he wants or thinks he deserves. He was good while he was on the field. They still have Joey Bosa, obviously. And they signed the biggest offensive signing you could say that they had was Jared Cook.
Not too mad about that, honestly, because Jared Cook finds a way. Yeah. He finds a way. I don't think that I'd like to have him as my starting tight end, but if you're streaming somebody, if he's a streamer, not mad at it.
I'm not mad at it at all. No. Well, I mean, we'll see pretty quickly, too, what he has left in the tank. He was decent in New Orleans when he was there. You're not looking at an Antonio Gates of, 15 years ago and any, you know what I mean? But all you need if you're streaming him is to get, 4 receptions for 40 yards and possibly a tutty.
I will say, though, now this is the part that I'd like to really talk about. Let's just say key pieces for the Chargers. Austin Eckler, obviously, guy that you're going to definitely want to take a look at in the second round for sure. He's that, I would say that tier break off of the top tier of, first round running backs.
Especially PPR format. Yeah. Standard format for the most part is standard format for the most part is dead. If you still play in a standard league, switch. Number one, try it. It is off season; is a perfect time. Try to switch to at least a half point.
Yeah.
Which that's the new standard. We play a half point. That's the new standard, right?
Get your dinosaur league out of here, fella.
But in a standard league, he probably isn't that tier break. He's probably a little bit further down.
Yeah.
But for a half point or full point PPR, I would agree he is a in the upper echelon of that tier 2 running back. Because I mean he did it last year too, even when Herbert was on the field. And the whole Justin Herbert getting the starting job with the fluke accident, the Chargers would have been bad last year had he not got the starting job. No offense to Tyrod Taylor, but this is going to sound offensive. He's not he's an okay quarterback. I'll say
But that. Aaron, he's a starting quarterback now.
I understand, for the worst team in the NFL.
That's a rough one right there. Again,
but
Texans fans, sorry.
I think Joshua Kelly will be a good change of pace back for them. Austin Eckler is one of those guys too. Yeah, he's great, but he has injury history.
So you would say that Joshua Kelly might be a handcuff candidate, correct?
Could potentially be.
Maybe a
It is
future
his
show.
second. It is his second year, so hopefully he'll take that step forward.
I'll say it again. Maybe that's a future show.
I heard you. I was trying to just push through it. um, so Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Mike Williams, a big guy. He just needs to be consistent. I would end up, if I had to, take him in later rounds. Keenan Allen obviously is going to be good.
Yeah. And he's always underrated. Underrated in fantasy all the time, unless you have a Chargers fan.
And they drafted a wide receiver. It'll probably take a few years for him to come to fruition. They drafted a wide receiver in the 3rd round of Josh Palmer out of Tennessee. Normally, as we've discussed before, it normally takes 2 to 3 years to tell if a receiver is actually going to be good or not. There's very few times where people just jump off the page their first season.
Baby.
So, you got anything else to talk about on the Chargers?
Justin Herbert.
Yeah. What about
Old Sherbet.
the coaching staff changed this year too? So
I don't care. Justin Sherbet is he's the real deal.
you call
And
him
I'm all in.
Sherbert?
Sherbet. It's
Is
French.
he your bay?
Maybe.
You're
Is he
going all
listening?
in? I don't know.
Great,
He might be
great friend of the show.
Oh, okay. We're just making stuff up now, I see.
I'm all in. No, I like Justin Herbert a lot. I understand that you're going to hear some people, mainly I'm thinking of specifically, again, great friend of the show, Ruben, saying once they get tape on a guy, he's not going to be worth a whole lot, a bag of beans. What he did.
That's for people like Lamar who don't.
Yeah,
have
that's what I'm saying. It's
good
not
arm talent.
That doesn't include Justin Herbert. His weapons can only get better from what they were last season. He didn't have Austin Eckler for the majority of the season. He didn't have the majority of his defense there for most of the season. He also, well, I guess you had Hunter Henry, so you can say that, but that's a downgrade. But maybe Mike Williams finally decides to play 17 games. Maybe.
Show up and hang out.
Who knows? I like the Chargers in this division a lot, and you're going to see it in the predictions.
I don't mind the Chargers, actually. Really don't. Are we going on to the powerhouse of football?
Yes.
The Kansas City Chiefs. They, at the beginning of the year, I'll never forget, they got rid of both of their tackles, and everyone was like, what are the Chiefs going to do? What are the Chiefs going to do? They just got rid of both their starting tackles, who were all pros or pro bowlers or whatever the heck they were. Turns out they're going to trade for Orlando Brown, who is a great offensive tackle. They got him from the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens wanted to make him a right tackle. He wanted to stay left tackle. Chiefs said, hey, we're going to trade for you and keep you at left tackle. And he said, sign me the hell up, because here I come. So, yeah, I mean, they also drafted Creed Humphrey with the 2nd round, who's a center out of Oklahoma. So that's another offensive line piece. They signed another, I can't remember, but they signed another tackle that replaced their other tackle that they lost, who's just as good. Maybe a step down, but still really good. So the offensive line problems that we thought we were going to have in the beginning of the offseason, right after the Super Bowl, when everything started to pop off, are no longer there.
I want to ask you a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
I know I say that a lot. I like to, get your mindset on how you're feeling about certain guys.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to take now? Aaron Rodgers is in Green Bay. He's playing. Are you willing to take Travis Kelce over Devontae Adams?
Aaron Rodgers is in Green Bay. Am I willing to take Travis Kelce over Devontae Adams?
Correct.
I've had Devontae 2 years in a row and then end up trading him to you for great stuff. Both years, but I've got my worth out of him. And he helps. Devontae is the wide receiver 1, in my opinion. And Devontae Adams is probably the most undervalued actual NFL wide receiver out there. But number 2, yes, I am taking Travis Kelce over Devontae Adams just to not just to not have to worry about the tight end position for the rest of the year, and then turn around and draft someone in a little bit later rounds and get like back-to-back wide receivers who are going to be both consistent and good for my team. Because as we've discussed, Travis Kelce finished as wide receiver 5 if he was playing in a wide receiver position.
Okay.
If you can get me 3 top 15 wide receivers, you're gonna have a hard time losing right there.
Okay. How about his teammate Tyreek Hill? You
Am I
want to
taking
take
him over
Travis Kelce here?
Devontae's?
Huh?
Tyreek over Devontae or Tyreek over Travis?
Tyreek over Travis. Travis over Tyreek is really what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay. How about
It's-
Stephon Diggs?
And it's it's strictly for the purpose of getting. Actually, let me backtrack. No, I'm gonna take Devontae over. I'm gonna take the wide receiver over all of them and turn around and get George Kittle in the next round.
Okay. That's
I
I
retract
think
my
that's
statement.
an important question. It's an important question. I would agree with that sentiment. You should take Devontae, Tyreek, maybe Stephon Diggs, maybe AJ Brown, maybe.
I was getting a really too high on Kelsey at that point in time, and then I was like, wait a second, what am I talking
Yeah,
about?
pump
Because I
brakes.
got
Gotta pump
tunnel
brakes
visioned.
Yeah.
Tunnel visioned. But no. So if you can get like, say, where you're at, I'm higher on Stephon Diggs than you are, right? So I think personally after Devontae, Tyreek, Stephon Diggs, if those guys are off the board, that's when I'm gonna look at Kelsey as like, do I want Kelsey or do I want D Hop? You know what I mean? And I'm only down on D Hop because of Kyler. Kyler's going to be a really good quarterback when he plays, but I don't think he's going to be able to throw the ball as much as Cliff Kingsbury wants to throw the ball. But that's besides the point. Let's stay on track with the Chiefs here.
Because we're still on the Chiefs and we're still talking about different Chiefs players, I want you to rate just your own personal where these guys are sitting. Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson, J.K. Dobbins, CEH.
Rank them?
Rank them.
J.K. Dobbins at the bottom for sure. That's the easiest one for me. Strictly, I'll talk through them, even though we're not on these divisions.
You don't have to talk to them. You can just give me the numbers. Give me who you think is the
J.K.
number one.
J.K. Dobbins is 4th because when it comes down to check down passes to the running back where you get good value and points from him, Lamar's going to scramble rather than throw. I'll give you quick synopsises. Number 3 is going to be CEH just because you have a high-powered offense, and we saw it last year where there weren't very many opportunities for him to score because normally it's Tyreek Hill on a bomb or Travis Kelce or, you know what I mean, just something crazy. Fitzpatrick to the football team. I think
so
that's tough.
Yeah, that is a tough one. And I thought that you might have been a little higher on CEH. I want to just talk just real quick. I understand that we're going to go through the Rams and what they've done throughout the offseason and what their projections might be. But CEH and Cam Akers had similar horrible red zone efficiencies when given the ball. Now, I understand Cam Akers was probably hurt for the majority of the beginning of the season. You can't really hold that against him too much, but CEH scored more times in the red zone than Cam Akers. 12, I think he had 12 attempts in the red zone.
But for some reason, I'm higher on him.
But for some reason, and you know what? I'm low on CEH too.
I think it comes down to actual scoring opportunities, though, because I don't think that the Chiefs are going to be on the 10-yard line as often. I think they're going to score from further out, like they're known for doing.
Kind of why I'm super high on Cam Akers too, is because I don't think that they're going to have so many red zone attempts. And even if he was a rookie last year, he's going to get better anyway. But that's besides the point. I just wanted to see your temperature on CEH and kind of where you thought he might be fun. Would you be comfortable with him as your running back 2? Obviously not your running back 1. Or maybe if you went 0 RB.
I don't think so. It would all come down to scheme.
if you went, let's just I'm gonna throw this out there. I know that we're running a little short on time here, but I want to get this one in because I think this is kind of important. So let's say you went Travis Kelce in the first round, then you got Stephon Diggs in the second round. Let's say that was your stack right there. Would you be comfortable taking CEH as your running back 1 in the third round?
No, because at that point in time, I'm not going to want to stack Travis Kelce and CEH on the same team.
Exactly what I want you to say. So I want to just kind of point out that I don't think it's a negative to have all the pieces that you can of a specific offense like Kansas City's. You're not a negative. Now you don't want all the pieces of the Jets or all the pieces of the Lions, but you see what I'm saying? Like there are offenses out there where you can have the running back and the receiver.
You do, yeah. I mean, that's not a bad thing. Like
No.
Zeke and Amari Cooper 2 years ago.
Yeah,
wasn't
or
a bad thing.
let's say you had Devontae and Aaron Jones, or let's say you had last year you had Tyreek and maybe CEH as your running back 2. Probably not because he was so highly drafted. Or AJ Brown and Derrick Henry. That wouldn't have been a bad mix up there either.
No,
I'm just trying to get to that point. Maybe we'll hit on that later, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm much rather trying to stay away from the skill position player stacks rather than a quarterback skill position player stack. I know there's only like 5 teams you're gonna want to really do it with, but normally I won't let it affect my overall draft decision. But in that particular instance, if I had Travis Kelce, someone at my Cam Akers at my running back 2 or Antonio Gibson at my running back 2, and he was coming around in like the beginning of the 4th round, and he would be my running back 2. I said running back 2, but Cam Akers is running back 1 or whatever.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I would have him be my running back 2. Like I would be okay with that.
Okay, that's just
but
kind of what I wanted to get
not
to.
with a tight end 1 and a running back 1, if that makes sense.
Well, I think that does it for
I do want to talk about they signed Jerick McKinnon.
Oh, go ahead.
In the offseason. Sammy Watkins is gone.
The Lizard King?
The Lizard King is gone.
Okay.
They re-signed Byron Pringle, wide receiver. Doesn't really do much, I guess. I mean, covers for Sammy, I guess, right? Maybe. And then they signed Taco Charlton to the defense. That's really about it. Drafted Nick Bolton in the 2nd round. That was their first pick. He's a linebacker. That's pretty much it for the Chiefs. Don't overpay for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. If you got him in the 3rd round, that's probably good.
Nope.
It'd be hard to pass on him on a 3rd round, but I probably would.
Yep. A lot of people are gonna want to do it.
Ooh, 4th round though? I'm in.
Depends on who's on the board.
I don't care. I'm in.
I personally don't think you should even look at a quarterback till the 5th. If the first quarterback off the board went 501, I'd be okay with it.
That ain't gonna happen. Never.
I know they're always gonna go like 204.
Never. Wild.
But anyways,
let's get into these predictions.
Division predictions. You want me to go first this week?
Go ahead.
You gonna start from the bottom?
Sure.
I have on the bottom the Broncos. I know they're out of order on the list, but on the bottom I have the Broncos going 6-11.
Well, I got them going 5-12, and I thought it was high. I don't think they're winning that many games, even with Teddy B. I don't think they will.
I think
they needed to shore up the quarterback position. They didn't do it.
I think for sure they give Drew Lock the chance, for sure, because they want to see what they have. But Teddy B eventually takes over, and honestly, Teddy B probably wins 5 of the 6 games that I have them winning here.
Hey, Aaron. Aaron. I got a cell phone here. Elway can give me a call, and I'll tell him what he's got. It's trash.
Stop it. All right. That's pretty much it for the Broncos. Next for you.
I got the Raiders going 8-9. And I feel like I'm low. I'm warming more and more on the Raiders. They did a lot of things to shore up that defense that they didn't have. but they just didn't make enough offensive moves for me to buy into. Are they going to be able to, have a gunfight with the Chargers and Chiefs? I don't think so. Even with Waller there, even as good as he is, I don't know.
I would agree. I have the Raiders at 9-8. They finished 8-8 last year, which is 500. You can no longer finish. I've said this multiple times. You can no longer finish 500 in the NFL. They will not. They will finish one game above 500 because that's John Gruden to a T, right? He comes out. They come out really, really hot, and everyone's like, "Oh, the Raiders got a really good offense." Blah 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 blah, and then the wheels fall off. So I have them at 9-8.
All right, so I got the Chargers at 11-6.
I have them at 10-7.
We're pretty close in these all the way around.
We're always pretty close in these. I mean, it's football. Everyone kind of knows.
It's June.
Yeah, everyone kind of knows
June.
everything. We'll wait to see about training camp and all that stuff.
Yeah, I got the Chargers going 11-6. Justin Herbert's going to take a step forward, and that defense only got better. So
that's fair. That is fair. I have the Chiefs, Kansas City Chiefs, going 13-4. They went 14-2 last year. With the extra game this year, I see them dropping a couple. 14-2 is crazy, but go ahead.
I got the Chiefs going 14-3 and winning the AFC.
You have them going to the Super Bowl again? You say winning the AFC. I mean the West.
Winning the AFC is in the number one seed, not going to the Super Bowl. I already told you. The Browns are going.
Stop it.
Stamp the ticket now.
But all right, so 14-3. You think that
they
just the extra game they added this year, they're just going to lose?
Yeah,
that's fine.
The Packer game, they're going to lose.
Oh, speaking of which, it's in Kansas City. I'm about to take a 4-hour driving to watch that one.
I wanted to go.
Flying to. We'll talk about it offline. We'll talk about it offline. But anyways, I think that pretty much wraps it up for us in the AFC West divisional breakdown. Guys, please be sure if one of these teams were your teams. Jump in the comments. Let us know kind of what you think. Let us know your takes. Let us know how you're feeling. I know it's still early June, but let us know how you're feeling when we're about to roll into, minicamp, OTAs, training camp.
Starting, baby.
Train camp. The hype train is going to be starting. You're going to start seeing a lot of reports come out about players. It's the hype train reports. So let us know. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know every time we post a video. And as always, guys, we will see you next time.